Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear California's in a state of turmoil. And I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office?
Mel, any message from you to Governor Newsom or Karen Bass tonight?
Spend less on hair gel. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, what can I say to them? Not big admirer of either.
I don't like him either.
Picture Gavin Newsom strutting around like California's crown prince, sipping on his organic kale juice, when out of nowhere, Mel Gibson shows up swinging like he's filming Braveheart 2, The Governor's Roast. Newsom probably thought his biggest headache was the mess on San Francisco sidewalks, but instead it's Gibson tearing his ego apart like a flimsy IKEA shelf. This isn't some polite debate, it's a demolition derby, and Newsom's the crash test dummy. And trust me, Gibson doesn't just roast him, he torches him like a Malibu bonfire in the middle of August.
We deserve much more and much better, and there is absolutely no adequate excuse the governor or mayor can make for this gross mismanagement and failure to preemptively deal with what they knew was coming.
Before we go any further, hit that like button and subscribe, because you're not going to want to miss this one. California didn't just elect a governor, it accidentally cast the lead in a never-ending soap opera called As the State Burns. Gavin Newsom doesn't actually govern, he poses. He's like a guy auditioning for the role of responsible leader in a toothpaste commercial, while the house behind him is literally on fire. His resume reads like a masterclass in how to drain a state of talent, money, and sanity, all while still finding time to practice that perfectly rehearsed smirk in the mirror.
And Mel Gibson had some very interesting things to say about California Governor Gavin Newsom's failure to prepare the state for these catastrophic wildfires that are ravaging LA still.
In 2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all funny. And then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know, but it's like, it's sad. It's like the place is just on fire.
The guy's got the posture of a superhero, the hair straight out of a shampoo ad, and the backbone of a jellyfish. He's the kind of politician who could stroll through a neighborhood full of potholes, trip into one, blame the asphalt, and then somehow spin it into a 20-minute speech about innovation.
How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer. That's all.
Take the homeless crisis. California throws billions at it every year, and yet the streets still look like a dystopian movie set where the director keeps yelling, "More chaos, more desperation." Newsom shows up for the cameras, nods with that practiced seriousness, and rolls out another shiny initiative that sounds almost identical to the last one. But the tents stay, the encampments spread, and downtown San Francisco looks less like Silicon Valley's neighbor and more like a live-action episode of The Walking Dead. And it's not just the streets. Companies are fleeing California faster than Mel Gibson would flee a live mic at a Hollywood award show. Elon Musk packed up and hauled Tesla to Texas, while small businesses, crushed under sky-high taxes and suffocating regulations, are bailing like the state's a sinking ship. Meanwhile, Gavin stands there looking stunned, as if he can't possibly understand why people don't want to pay $20 for a salad and a 15% state tax just for the privilege of living under rolling blackouts.
A lot of people have been coming out and calling out Gavin Newsom endlessly, and the biggest one of all is Mel Gibson. We all know that he is a very big, open critic of Gavin Newsom, and he continues to actually do that, and rightfully so, because we already know that there's a lot of issues going on right now within the state of California.
Speaking of blackouts, California's power grid is basically a running comedy sketch at this point. Imagine paying the highest energy bills in the country only to sit in the dark while everything in your freezer melts. Gavin loves to brag about California's green leadership, but what that really means is importing power from other states just to keep the lights on. People are out here practicing survival skills like it's summer camp, except instead of roasting s'mores, they're losing hundreds of dollars in spoiled groceries. Gavin calls it progress, but the rest of the country calls it pathetic. And then there's water. California has an ocean on one side and snow-capped mountains on the other, yet every year Newsom lectures residents to cut back on watering their lawns because apparently saving the fish matters more than saving the farms. Farmers are desperate, reservoirs are bone dry, and his big idea? More restrictions. He manages water the way a toddler manages finger paint, sloppy, messy, and guaranteed to end in disaster. Honestly, if Mel Gibson wanted to film another Mad Max, he wouldn't even need a desert set. Just aim the camera at Gavin's California and yell, "Action."
Lost his house in these wildfires. And what you just saw there was an effort to recall the governor and Mayor Bass. Does his star power in this matter?
It matters in the sense we're playing it now on national television on a highly rated Fox and Friends First show, and that has gone viral on social media. And meanwhile, the same day that Mel Gibson says what he says there, and he's correct on so many things as far as the management of wildfires, Gavin Newsom's approval on the handling of the wildfires is only 30%.
Wow. Then came the pandemic fiasco. Millions of Californians were locked down, businesses boarded up, kids stuck on glitchy Zoom calls, and Gavin Newsom decided the rules didn't apply to him. While families canceled weddings, funerals, and holidays, he was out fine dining in Napa at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the country. That wasn't just hypocrisy, it was hypocrisy with a side of foie gras. He turned himself into the poster boy for do as I say, not as I eat. And schools, they've been circling the drain for years. California, the home of Silicon Valley and some of the richest districts in America, still manages to rank embarrassingly low in math and reading. Crime has become a joke. Mobs raiding stores in broad daylight, running off with armloads of merchandise while Gavin insists everything's under control. Under control for who? The thieves. Walgreens and Target are shutting down locations because California's justice system treats theft like a parking ticket. People can't even buy toothpaste without tracking down an employee to unlock a glass case. Meanwhile, Newsom stands there acting like it's all fine. He's basically turned California into a real-life video game, Grand Theft Shopping Cart.
And Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, well, they were also suggesting that LA was under control. They had it covered while, of course, LA was essentially burning. And they've been blaming Donald Trump for all the chaos in LA, while Gavin Newsom has been trying to emerge as the strong leader of the Democrats as he eyes off the presidency in 3 years' time. But actor Mel Gibson has spoken out, blasting the governor and the mayor, rightfully so, for their disastrous leadership.
Housing is another disaster on Gavin's list of failures. Regular people can't even dream of buying a home anymore. Young professionals are stuck with 4 roommates well into their 30s, and families are crammed into tiny apartments. Gavin's big response? Announcing some vague affordable housing plan that never actually shows up. He'll cut a ribbon on a project with 15 units while millions of renters drown in debt. At this pace, California might solve its housing crisis by the year 3050. And now he's got national ambitions, strutting around like the rest of America is begging to look like San Francisco. Because who wouldn't want to dodge needles on the sidewalk while paying $9 for a latte during a blackout? He parades himself as if he's auditioning for president, but in reality, his resume looks more like a blooper reel. Gavin Newsom as commander-in-chief would be like putting the captain of the Titanic in charge of the Coast Guard. The funniest part is how he spins every disaster into self-congratulation. Gas prices hit record highs? That's leadership. Wildfires out of control? That's innovation. Crime skyrockets? That's progress. Gavin could fall face first into a pothole and call it a bold infrastructure initiative. Californians don't need spin. They need power, water, housing, safety, and schools that work. Instead, they've got a governor whose greatest accomplishment is perfecting his hair.
If I were giving the governor advice, I'd say, don't be so overt that people can see the wheels turning. The obvious question would be, well, you've been governor of California for 6 years. You were lieutenant governor for many years before that. When did you have this epiphany? And the answer is when he found that the Republicans could weaponize the issue.
And then there's Gavin's Hollywood attitude. He treats politics like it's a red carpet event where the only things that matter are the look, the posture, and the lighting, while real problems pile up like trash on the streets of LA. He's basically running California like a bad Netflix series, overhyped, expensive, and abandoned by the audience halfway through. To make it worse, he's the poster child for double standards. He rails against big oil while cruising around in motorcades, talks about climate change while jetting off for photo ops, and lectures about inequality while sipping Cabernet in mansions that make Versailles look modest. He's not a governor, he's a brand ambassador for hypocrisy. And then come the wildfires. Only in California can millions of acres go up in smoke, families lose everything, and Gavin still show up acting like Smokey the Bear's clueless cousin. Every summer it's the same routine. Californians brace for fire season like it's a scheduled Netflix drop. The state burns, homes are reduced to ash, and Gavin stands at a podium with that practiced look of concern that basically says, "Don't worry, I'll hold a press conference while you lose everything." Instead of tackling forest management and infrastructure, he throws billions at pet projects and hides behind climate change like it's some magical shield against criticism. Fires rage, people evacuate, and there's Gavin, looking like he just stepped out of a GQ photo shoot. Priorities, right?
We have to do a better job. We need competent, good governance. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize the governor of California for, I think, some very bad decisions over a very long period of time. I mean, some of these reservoirs have been dry for 15, 20 years. The fire hydrants are being reported as going dry while the firefighters are trying.
And then there's California's budget billions rolling in from some of the highest taxes in the country, yet somehow the state is still broke. Newsom manages money the way a toddler manages Play-Doh. It looks colorful at first, then half of it disappears, and the rest ends up stuck to the carpet. Every year, California brags about a surplus, and every year that surplus magically evaporates. Nobody knows where it goes. Roads stay cratered, schools keep failing, crime keeps climbing, and Gavin just smiles and announces another historic investment. At this point, historic is just code for spectacularly wasteful. If California were a movie, it'd be Money Pit 2, Sacramento edition. And then there's his big environmental crusade. He wants to ban gas cars by 2035, which is hilarious considering California can't even keep the lights on in 2025. Imagine plugging in your shiny new EV only to have the grid collapse because everyone else did the same thing. It's like he's prepping the state for Survivor Los Angeles edition. The irony? The same state that lectures everyone about carbon footprints has to import coal power the second demand spikes. Newsom sells a green utopia while reality looks like a middle school science fair project gone wrong. And don't forget his obsession with regulation. Gavin regulates everything except his own ego. Want to build a house? Good luck navigating permits, fees, environmental reviews, zoning hoops, and a mountain of paperwork. By the time you're approved, your kids will be shopping for retirement homes. Meanwhile, Gavin acts shocked that housing supply collapsed and rent skyrocketed. He's like the guy who sets up a 20-foot obstacle course, watches you faceplant, and then lectures you about resilience.
And look at Gavin Newsom. He tried to do this, was it a radio show or podcast, whatever he tried to do. Now he's busy trolling on social media, and it's cringe, it's falling flat. I'm sure they'll come after me now, who cares? Because Donald Trump is one of one. Only he can do what he's done with social media, with podcasts, in the way he's done it. 900 rallies and counting.
For a bonus laugh, let's talk about California's gas prices. Somehow, Californians always pay more than anyone else, like it's some twisted state tradition. Folks in Texas can fill their tanks for the price of a cheeseburger, while Californians need a small business loan just to get to work. And Newsom loves to point fingers at greedy oil companies while completely ignoring the mountain of state taxes and regulations he stacked on top. It's like burning down your own house and then blaming the match company. Mel Gibson wouldn't even need to roast this. He could just point to a California gas pump with a sign that says, "Insert kidney to continue." And then there's the population problem. People are fleeing California in droves. Families, businesses, retirees, anyone who can get out is heading east. Texas, Florida, Arizona are rolling out the welcome mats for California's refugees. It takes a lot to trigger a recall, but Gavin somehow managed to alienate enough people to make it happen. And yeah, he survived, but not because people loved him. It was because the opposition was more chaotic than his own policies. That's not victory, that's luck. Public safety? Another disaster. Shoplifting under $950 basically turned into a legal loophole, and criminals figured it out faster than kids memorizing cheat codes. Smash and grabs became the new California pastime. Videos of mobs raiding stores look like Black Friday on steroids. And Gavin's solution? Pretend it's not happening. He insists California is safe, while residents are installing bars on their windows and stores are shutting down entire locations. California went from being the jewel of the West Coast to the cautionary tale parents use to scare their kids. Entire blocks overrun with homelessness, open-air drug markets, chaos everywhere, and Gavin's already eyeing a national run. Because apparently what America really needs is San Francisco's problems on a federal scale. He honestly thinks voters are going to say, yes, please bring your brand of dysfunction to Washington. If he ever made it to the White House, half the country would be living in tents, gas would hit $12 a gallon, and every city would be racing to see who can ban plastic forks the fastest. His presidential dream isn't ambition, it's delusion wrapped in hair gel.
Curious, we see a lot of the cities that you can't conceal carry, or it's extremely hard to get concealed carry, or California being one of them.
Yeah.
Illinois, New York. I mean, do you think that everyday citizens carrying a gun reduces crime or increases crime?
I think the evidence suggests the opposite. It increases the likelihood of a gun death.
And here's the final bit of irony. Gavin can't stop bragging about California leading the fight against climate change, while wildfires in his state pump more emissions into the air every year than millions of cars combined. His policies haven't stopped the fires. If anything, they've practically fueled them. He'll ban straws but let forests burn. That's like patting yourself on the back for using a paper bag while lobbing Molotov cocktails at your neighbor's house. And through it all, Gavin's one real talent has nothing to do with governing, it's presentation. He's not a governor, he's a stage actor. Every crisis turns into his chance to step in front of cameras, tilt his head just right, and deliver a speech that sounds like it was cobbled together by an unpaid intern with a thesaurus. Californians don't need a stylist, they need a leader. But Gavin treats Sacramento like it's a movie set and the people like they're background extras. He's basically the first governor to run a state entirely on good lighting. He thinks he can smile, pose, and deflect his way out of reality. But reality doesn't care about his hairline. Reality is tents on sidewalks, sky-high prices, crushing regulations, crumbling infrastructure, and a middle class packing U-Hauls. So if Mel Gibson ever wanted to roast Gavin Newsom, he wouldn't need fire, fury, or theatrics. He'd just need a mirror. Because Gavin's California is already the punchline.
He plays this slick little game of words. He doesn't say crime goes up, he says gun deaths go up. Why? Because that phrasing triggers your brain into thinking guns are the problem. But let's break that down. If you've got more guns in one state than the other, obviously the number of deaths involving guns is going to be higher in that state. That doesn't mean it's more dangerous. It just means the tools used are different. You know where the gun death rate is low?
At the end of the day, Gavin Newsom isn't a leader. He's a cautionary tale dressed up in designer suits and hair gel. California was once the dream, the promised land, the place people flocked to for opportunity. Under his watch, it's turned into the land of potholes, blackouts, and price tags so outrageous even Beverly Hills matrons do a double take. He's not running a state, he's running a PR campaign, and the product he's selling is pure dysfunction. The funniest part? He still thinks this disaster reel is a resume for higher office. Gavin honestly believes Americans want California's chaos scaled up nationwide, like rolling blackouts and tent cities are some kind of export-worthy innovation. In his head, he's Oval Office material. In reality, he's the political equivalent of a rejected pilot episode, glossy, overproduced, and completely unwatchable. If history remembers him at all, it won't be for brilliance or leadership, but for the irony of a man who looked like a governor but governed like a stage extra. The hair will gray, the smirk will fade, but the wreckage he leaves behind will stick. Gavin Newsom isn't California's future. He's the blooper reel America never asked for.